Hello, I'm Brad Tuller. I'm a mastering engineer, and I'm here at the Garden Groove Recording Space in Nashville, Tennessee. And today I just wanted to talk about something that I haven't heard many people talk about before, which is how to regain perspective on a project, whether it's a mix or a master. There's a few methods that I want to share with you that can help you do this, but it also helps with critical listening and also some creative thinking while working in the audio industry. The only two, in my opinion, for like nostalgia purposes, Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town. Nostalgia for people. You know, honestly, the two. So before I talk about the T.I.L.E method and the aspects of critical listening with it, there is a quick and easy way to kind of regain perspective of a project you're working on regarding the tonality and also the level of some things that I like to use a lot. And what it is you put an EQ on your master bus, on your output, and set a high pass filter to about 10K and just sit there and listen to the project for about 30 seconds with only that high pass going, so you're just hearing the sizzles at the top. Then after about half a minute, bypass the EQ, everything opens up again, and you're hearing the tonality, the level, the energy, everything comes back to you like you're hearing it for the first time. It's kind of a quick and easy way to shock your ears into hearing it again. So when working on a project, whether it's a mix or a master, it's really easy to get lost in the details of what you're working on. So most of the time what we want to do is we want to start from a bird's eye view and then hone in on the problem areas or areas we feel like we can enhance. So this is how I start my masters, and it's with this method that I call the T.I.L.E method. So the T.I.L.E method is broken down into 4 categories. T, which is tone, I, which is image, L, which is level, and E, which is energy. So let's talk about tone, which is the first letter in the T.I.L.E method. When you listen to something, you want to look at the overall spectrum of what you're listening to. Is it too dark, meaning there's a lot of low-end to low-mid information? Is it too bright, meaning there's a lot of high-end or high-mid information? Is it harsh, which could mean a lot of mids to high-mids? Once you can kind of get a bird's eye view of this, you can then go to the individual sections of the spectrum and find the frequencies that you want to enhance or reduce based off that. So for image, in the second letter of the T.I.L.E method, we're looking at the overall width of whatever we're looking at, whether it's in surround or stereo, usually stereo. Is it too wide? Is there nothing in the center holding down the whole mix? Is there no anchor? Is it too narrow? Do things need to open up a little bit and make room for other things? In mixing, this is an easy fix because you have more control over the individual elements, but in mastering, you can actually get a little creative and do things like mid-side EQ and set things to the sides to enhance them or decrease the amount of level in the sides, as well as some imaging plugins to subtly affect the image of what you're listening to. The third category in the T.I.L.E method is level, and this is kind of a byproduct of the other processes that you'll be doing when you work on your project, but there's an effective mindset to keep in mind when you're thinking of level, and that is the extremes. So when you're thinking of level, think about the loudest thing in the mix and the quietest thing in the mix. And those two things will kind of guide you towards what other processes have to be done. If something's poking out too much, you might need to lower it with EQ, compression, even just a fader if you're on the mix. But one thing I really like to tell people is if you want to hear the loudest thing in your mix, turn your volume down. If you turn your volume knob not as far as it can go, but to the quietest level you're comfortable with listening to, the loudest thing will poke out at you in the mix, and it will probably dictate where it needs to go from there. So the fourth category is energy, and this is a hard one to realize most of the time because for me it's mostly a feeling, but it comes in the form of compression and saturation or any sort of harmonic enhancement. So when I'm working on a master, if I feel like it's just it doesn't have the impact that I want it to, or if I feel like it's falling flat a little bit, that's where I go towards dynamics processing, like compression, give it a little bit more microdynamics, saturation, enhance some of the harmonic content to make it a little bit more exciting and a little bit more impactful. But yeah, this one's also interesting because sometimes things are too energetic and we need to go to things like expansion to give it a little bit more dynamics back, because a little bit too much energy can actually do the opposite of what you think it would and lead to some very flat and unexciting mixes and masters. So this method is applicable to all facets of the audio industry, but my favorite thing about it is actually the creative thinking that it promotes. So you can take two of the elements and combine them with the use of one tool to achieve both results. So for example, if something needs a tonal shift in the mids and it needs more energy, you can use something like a multiband saturator to simultaneously enhance the energy of that area of the spectrum and enhance the tonality of that spectrum. Another example would be if the cymbals are buried in a mix and they don't sound as wide as they should be, you can go to an EQ and make a high shelf set into side mode, enhance that area, and then all of a sudden the cymbals are more present with a tonal shift, and now the mix sounds wider, or the master also sounds wider. This is a good trick if you want things to sound a little bit larger than life. It helps a lot. So one thing I recommend that people do is listen to 3 songs that you've never listened to before and apply this method to it. Think of the categories and write down what you hear. What is the tone like? What is the image like? Does it have enough energy? All the categories. Eventually what's going to happen is you're going to subconsciously apply this method to everything you listen to without having to think about it, and you'll get faster and more efficient at acknowledging certain parts of the project that you're listening to and regaining perspective again. I hope this was all helpful for you guys, and we'll see you soon at Garden Groove.